righty. I built a tapering jig so that I can clean up one side of pallet wood. And I built this tapering jig using help from Woodworking Minimalist. I was trying to figure out how I was going to build a tapering jig with just a couple of pieces of scrap wood so that I could run this on my table saw. But I just have 2 screws that go straight into the working material. If I'm worried at any time about putting dents in my material, I'll put a piece of plywood in as a buffer, a thin piece of plywood, and that'll keep it held down. But it makes it really quick. Ooh, want that to stay in there. A really quick way of clamping down a piece of material so that I can trim off one of the edges and have a perfectly flat side. And I can do that with 30 boards or so. I made this tapering jig so that I can trim one edge of pallet wood and then flip it over and utilize the fence for the other side of the pallet wood. Luckily, if you don't have a table saw, I know a way that this jig will work for using just a circular saw. So I'll show you how I made it. For this jig in particular, it's super simple. Screw with a couple of washers and then a couple of screws into the main board here. This stopping board on the end is specifically for the fact that I'm running it through a table saw. That prevents these 2 hold downs from sliding, just in case the wood got any funny ideas, you know. So that's where that stops. And I don't have a way to make sure that my board is straight. All I'm going to do for the most part is just line up one edge so that I get a nice flat surface and then flip it over and run the other side through the table saw so that I get relatively flat sides. And that's my goal. Since I'm working with pallet wood, it doesn't have to be super duper precise. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off one side and then utilize the fence to trim the other side. Since I'm working with pallet wood, I'm not super concerned about it being exactly precise flat on each side to where they're parallel to each other. I just want to get it most of the way there, as pallet wood is often very crooked. If you're just going to make a tapering jig specifically for a circular saw, there's a really easy way to do that. For the table saw, I ran a guide strip along the edge there so that I would be able to run the board through the slots on the table saw. So if you're going to use a circular saw, all you have to do is make the guide rail a lot closer to the edge here so that your circular saw can follow that guide rail all the way down the board. And that'll make for one smooth, straight side, which then all you have to do is flip your material around to the other side. If you wanted to have a perfectly flat reference side to go off of, if you're just going to use a circular saw, I would utilize both sides of this jig to where you can have boards clamped on this side, and then on the other side here you can have another board clamped down where it's perfectly straight, and that should help as well. If you're going to use pallet wood because it's free and you want to build a project, try to make sure that your project can afford to have gaps like this. This is a great way to make a project look awesome, and then all you have to do is sand it and you're good to go. But if you want to make a project where there's no gap, such as a table, you're going to find that you're still going to have huge gaps. Pallet wood is just not straight. So what I'm going to do here, start from this end because that end's cracked. And I'm going to trim off just about a little more than 1/8. We have the boards that I have ran through my tapering jig and then ran through with the fence lined up so that I can get much straighter boards. Now you can see there's a gap here and a gap there. My system is not perfect whatsoever, but it's significantly better than what we were working with. Thanks again for Woodworking Minimalist on Twitch for helping me come up with the mechanics of this jig. I'm going to be able to get a lot of these cut up in one go and be able to sand them and make tons of projects with them. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comments down below. Also, you can catch me live on Twitch Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, as well as the link in the description, which is also conveniently where the like button is. Go ahead. Click it. I dare you. I'll have an outro for this. Until next time, thank you for joining me. I'm Ejim, and this is Ejim's Workshop of Everything. Have a good time. Have something. Be good.
I hope you enjoy.
Be kind. Share the love. I might just trim all these down to like 3 inches. If you have any questions,
Try it again, but with more enthusiasm.
more gusto.
So laugh like Moondar. 3, 2, 1, go.
Subscribe. Bye. I can't go down far enough. Ow.